Hello, lads. Today I'd like to talk about a truly influential little book, a short book. It's almost, I don't even know what to call it. It's not a novel. It's not a novella, really. It's a piece of investigative reporting, and it's Radical Chic by Tom Wolfe. And it seems that the publication of Radical Chic is also accompanied by the shorter work called Mau Mauing the Flak Catchers. And it seems that when Radical Chic has been published as a standalone book, that it also includes this other piece, just to sort of lengthen it a bit, just because it is a bit short for a book. I don't know. I plead ignorance as to where this article was first published. I'm sure I could find that out very easily. But I know that it was published in the late 60s, 69, maybe 70, around that time period. And Tom Wolfe was an interesting character for sure. He was, a conservative guy, a guy with conservative orientations whose critiques were most often of liberal types, but yet he was given carte blanche by these mostly liberal publications, and they loved him in New York, even though he was this Southerner dressed in a gaudy seersucker suit. Not quite a seersucker suit, but he got dressed up in this way that was that he felt reflected the persona that he wished to impart, which was of a courtly Virginian, quite a character. But so Tom Wolfe is an interesting figure in and of himself, in that he was, and it shows that the time period preceding our own was a time in which people with disparate thought, disparate ways of thinking, disparate philosophies could still coexist, could still get along and be published in the same places. And, what mattered less was what they thought, but how well they wrote and how astute they were and how thought-provoking their writing was. Tom Wolfe was apparently good friends with Hunter S. Thompson, who was a very much a left-leaning guy, and also pretty much a maniac, and in retrospect, maybe somebody who is not quite all that wholesome of a person. Nevertheless, they collaborated, they corresponded, they got along, and that just shows the way things used to be, as opposed to the way they are now. Where you would never find any kind of there's never any diversity of thought amongst people who are allowed to be published in mainstream journals. It's just not the case anymore. They all have to think basically the same way, and it's boring. Even if I was a liberal, which I'm of course not. But even if I was, I think I would think, this is boring. This is so boring. Give me something a little different. Give me some spice, So when Tom Wolfe wrote Radical Chic, he was on hand covering these incidences, these what at first were called dinners or parties, and later they changed and said, no, these weren't parties, these were just meetings. But in any case, there were, it became fashionable amongst, New York socialite, liberal, celebrity types to be cozy, to show themselves being cozy with and rapping with and being down with these radical, revolutionary groups. And the name Radical Chic is, of course, a reference to that it's that you're always following trends. You always want to be you don't want to be left behind. You want to be on the bandwagon that's of what's happening now. And what was happening now for a little while anyway amongst these New York socialite liberal celebrity types was this thing called radical chic. So most of radical chic is set at Leonard Bernstein, of course, the famous composer. It's set at his place, I think his house or his studio or someplace that was intimately his. I think it's his. Would it be his brownstone? I don't know where he lived at the time, but that's where it's all happening. And Leonard Bernstein and his wife have invited a bunch of Black Panthers to come and speak, and they want to raise money. They want to help raise money for the Black Panther organization, because recently something like 21 different Black Panther members have been arrested on charges that they were plotting to blow up different places in New York City, and so the purpose of the event, well, the one of the stated purposes is just to talk about where things are going, just to have a rap session. And so you see Leonard Bernstein getting down with the brothers, and and it's quite hilarious. Of course the prose is quite hilarious in its description of these white liberals, just doing their best to be cool and hip, with these people who are just radically different from who they are, and who have no illusions about why they're there. The Black Panthers, they're there because it's a money grab. It's like look here, jive ass turkeys, you give us money. That's pretty much what they're there for. And I mean, I don't blame them. If I were them, that's what I would be. That's what I would do as well. You got a bunch of rich people offering to have these soirees with you, and raising funds to help get your members, bail money so they can get out of jail as they await these charges. I mean, where's the downside for them, right? So what I think is I think the most enduringly fascinating thing about radical chic is that it is the first. It's the first piece of media that I can think of where we see this phenomenon that today gets called by the name of virtue signaling, where we see that that happening, where we see these people like Leonard Bernstein and his wife and their celebrity friends who are at this gathering. Barbara Walters is there, and a few other people who were very well known at the time. All of them, white celebrities or Jewish, Jewish/white celebrities, and just wanting to be to show themselves as being down with the struggle, and the lawyer for the Panthers is there, raising money, saying if you can possibly help out this oppressed group that's getting hit with all of these trumped up charges, please give what you can. And so it really very painfully. The humor is painful. It is definitely what we would call cringe today. Just the idea that you want to, that for these people who are at this gathering, starting with Bernstein. He doesn't need to do something like this. He doesn't need to burnish his credentials or his reputation. He's already incredibly famous and incredibly well thought of, and his talent is recognized across the world. But he wants to show that he's down with the right. He's down with the cause, and so do all these other people who are there. And doesn't that sound so familiar? Yeah, I mean, it is the behavior of the white liberal, the way that he behaves towards anyone whom he sees as it being virtuous for him to gesture, to make gestures, or to make signals, hence virtue signaling, signals that he is on board with the cause. And it's only repeated. I mean, that you would think that people would read Radical Chic, and I know plenty of people did, and you'd think that they would be so embarrassed, and they would cringe so hard after reading it that they would never want to do this kind of thing. But apparently, this impulse to virtue signal just is so overpowering for certain groups of people, i.e., white liberals, just almost exclusively white liberals. You don't find people of other races, having any need to do this at all. It's like they're okay with being the race that they are. They don't have to apologize. They don't have to, I don't know, show themselves to be down with the cause and as a way of somehow redeeming who they are. But for certain types of white people, not all white people, but certainly a lot of the white liberal sorts of people, this has been an enduring type of behavior. And it's something that I would also, it's called virtue signaling, but more specifically, it's ethnomasochism. It's wanting to flog and flagellate yourself because you're white, and again get redemption by somehow receiving the acceptance of these various groups that whom you put on a pedestal and see as above you, and so much more authentic and so much more real and so much more human, really, than you are, because you're just white. Who are you anyway? You're just white. And Leonard Bernstein was a Jew, okay? So for those of you who say Jews don't do this kind of thing, those of you who think, oh, well, Jews are exempt from white guilt, that's not true. Definitely not true with in the case of Leonard Bernstein. Anyway, that's Radical Chic. Read it. It's funny. It's short. You'll breeze through it, and you'll want to read more by Tom Wolfe because he's a hilarious writer.